Hello and welcome back to another edition of Joe's Arcade, episode 4 here. Today we are going to be addressing a serious problem with the room, which is that there is no door to get in, because these are just closet doors. So I'm going to kind of move some of this other stuff that we were working on last time to the side, and that'll get added a little bit later on where it actually belongs. But for the moment, going to work on adding an entrance to this place. So, before I forget, today's recommended companion music is going to be Center Level Roar by Youngblood Brass Band. Pretty good stuff on there. That's what I'm going to be listening to anyway. And let's jump right into it. So, there is a door in this area. It looks like that. And I'll get these out of the way here. And I've pretty much got everything I need to model this thing over on this sheet that you can see now. So I've got door dimensions, some other objects relative to the door, and then I've got some pretty detailed dimensions for the doorknob. So going to be going pretty into detail on that as well. And then I have some other components from a different door that I've modeled in the past over in this SketchUp model. And so I'm going to grab some of those and work them in as well for some of the stuff that I didn't measure on the spot. So let's start off with just taking our main door dimensions. I've got down 80 inches in height by 35.875 over 80 down, and there's my door size. And let us see here. Do I have a door thickness? I've got something that's pretty close. Yes, I do. 1 5/16 inches. Wow, that is specific. Let's go an inch, and then 5 divided by 16. Probably could do that in one operation, but I don't actually know that it would have been much easier. If it is, let me know, I guess. Anyway, let's group that thing, and it is going to need to be rotated like so, because it's going somewhere along this wall. I'll find out exactly where here. And I'm going to jump right into the doorknob. So, try to make it a little bit easier to see what dimensions I've got there. But basically what I've got going on for this is radial dimensions out at every change in cross section, of which there's a whole bunch here. It's got to be like 10 or 12 maybe. And then a distance from the door itself out, so the full doorknob is 2.2 inches here, extruded from the door. And so I'm going to be kind of using both of those to create a profile of the outer edge of the knob, and then it's circular, so I'll revolve it around with the follow me tool, which I figured out last time. We'll see if I can figure it out again. Let's just start anywhere, and this first section is 2.35 inches wide, and it comes down 0.25 inches, and from there it is 2.26 inches over. So we've got that going on. Okay. Delete these, and now I've got 0.32 inches down. This is going to be interesting. Probably shouldn't have deleted that one. 0.25 was my critical point here. And 1.05 inches out. Yeah, it really juts in like this. And that line doesn't exist. So 0.32 comes out 0.86 inches. And I'm going to actually mark up on this guy a little bit if I can, to just try to make sure that I'm doing things correctly. Let's get a red pen going. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Haven't actually messed around with markup tools in web browser PDF editor, but you know, I'm doing it now, I guess. That dimension goes to there. This one goes to there. I want to make sure that I'm not short any dimensions or anything, or that I've got them lined up correctly, because it would really stink to get to the very end of this and discover that I was short a measurement, or that I wrote them in a complicated way or something. That seems correct to me, but I was missing a hash line, or whatever you call that. Okay, so that's good to know, because these are so tight it's going to be really difficult to keep track of them in the model. Okay, whew, got all sorts of things popping up on me now. Okay, just going to hit escape over there, get back on track. Okay, so I've got my 0.32. Don't need to know anything about favorites. Oh, I'm being defeated by Microsoft Edge, which you can laugh at me all you want for using Edge. I'm laughing at myself too, but that just happens to be what is set to default for PDFs right now. Alright, so I've got 0.32 inches here anyway, is what I've got currently figured out. I'm going to go 0.58, and I'm going to start making little hash marks like this. I think it'll be easier. 0.73. I'll do all my depth, and then I'll do my radials. 0.96. 1.08. 1.15. These lines are getting longer and longer. 1.4. I'll make that one shorter just to do it. 1.75. 2.08. 2.15. And 2.2. Okay. There we go. So there's my critical points. Now I can do my radial dimensions here. This was 0.86, as well as this one. As usual, getting a little bit stumped by my own notes here. This 2.2 goes down to just about nothing. I'm going to work from the opposite end and try to figure out one of these numbers that's confusing me. 1.52. 1.52. 1.93. 1.15. 0.85. 0.6. 0.84. Whoa. And then these were my 0.84s, and I had a 0.76 inserted into the middle here. That's what I wasn't totally sure on there. This looks a little bit goofy, but I'm going to start tracing it out and see what happens. So this end connects like that. That's just straight. And then after that, I've done the easy parts. This is pretty much all just curvy. So it's going to be interesting for me here. I'm not super worried about tangential arcs because it's just not, well, first of all, that's not the way that this is designed, but it just kind of has to look good enough to work. So if I go back to arc, I've got to reduce the number of segments here. And so let's go 6 sides and see if that's going to work. There we go, yeah. So we'll connect that like so. Now I go from 0.86 to 0.76. So there's actually kind of like a big bulge in there. Interesting. Again, I'm going to kind of work back to that section because it's difficult. Pick my 2 endpoints here for this arc. I might get some more faces on this one. Yeah, let's do that. So let's take an arc and do a 12-sided arc this time again. So a little bit bigger of a feature. Okay. And now connect rounded back down to here. This isn't going to be beautiful, I don't think. But that's tangent at vertex, which is not what I'm about, actually. I'm looking for more like this. And I'm going to just fool around and draw another arc like that. Round that off. Let's do another arc like this. This is our main section of the knob here. And I'll admit, I'm starting to question 1 or 2 of these dimensions. So we've got our 1.93 here. This is a 1.15. This is 0.85 that I'm going to, which is a pretty drastic change, but that does seem to be what it does. But then we have this big swoop here down to 0.6, and that's cut non-tangentially. I've got too big of an arc. I'm not surprised with that section. Let's go back to 6 sides here. Do something like that. And how about this? It's not matching the picture that I drew, but it is matching the dimensions that I drew, which is interesting. Okay, so that's definitely not right, I don't think. Let me see if this video offers any guidance. This is a pretty grainy picture of that doorknob. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say no, it doesn't. You can see this is the main thing though. What I think what I think looks off is that I'm showing right here a bow out. But obviously these dimensions don't support that, the actual numbers that I punched in. This 0.76 if it comes in truly like that could be correct, and then this I think maybe I have wrong. So if I do this and actually come into that 0.76 with a pretty steep angle there, and then I do that, I think this is more the ballpark of what I'm going for. Yeah, that doesn't look half bad. Pretty steep angles here that are a little bit sharper than I have them drawn, but this isn't exactly drawn to scale. It's kind of a representation. So I think I'm going to go with this as the general shape. Oops. And of course it's possible that I could take a look at a better picture at this sometime down in the future, but I think this is going to be close enough. So I'll delete my intermediate lines here, and I'm just going to get rid of these faces as well, and I will reclose I'll reclose this thing. Oops. Just to get one nice face in there. Okay. Now I want to rotate it to get it facing the way it should be. And this is going to be kind of a moment of truth thing, because this could come out looking real crazy and not at all how I want it to. I guess we'll see. Let's try a 32 side circle here. See how that looks. We're going to grab the follow me tool. Nope, don't do that. And we'll revolve it around this whole circle. And I had it there. It was snapping to 180. There we go. Okay, this is pretty funny. I'm going to reverse that face and orient them. So I don't know if you can tell right away what I've done here. I definitely, I could tell what I've done. All these dimensions that I wrote down were diameters, because of course I was using a dial caliper for the measurements, and there isn't a way to measure a radius. So they all should have been divided by 2, but that's kind of a shame on you, Eric, for messing that up kind of thing. Fortunately, SketchUp has got the scale tool, so I'm just going to go ahead and scale that by 0.5, and there we go. That is a much more reasonable looking doorknob than super knob over here. That's actually a almost a really cool idea for a fancy doorknob. I don't know. Maybe someday somebody will build a house with a doorknob like that. It's not going to be me. I'm going to use this doorknob that is correctly proportioned. And we'll move that guy a foot this way just so I can sneak to the back and create just like a little crosshair on the back so that I can position it a little better, a little more easily. There we go. Okay, so where does that go? Well, we've got some dimensions here, as always. That thing belongs 2.5 inches over and 38.5 inches up. And that'll be my center. So snap to that. Oh, I failed to snap to that. Come on. There we go. Right on that endpoint. And there we go. So that's kind of the basics of our door here. So the other thing I'd like to do is see about adding a couple extra little details to this. So I'm going to come into my other sketch up here. As you can see, very different kind of doorknob on this one. That was a lot easier section to do, let me tell you. I'm going to grab kind of this, what would it be called? The latch? I don't know. I think there's a different name for that. I'd have to look it up sometime. But I'm going to just copy that thing. It's going to be about, you know, pretty similar design for most doors anyway. And I'm going to move that thing first here. And then I'm going to move it. This is going to be a little bit more complicated than it needs to be, but I'm going to center that on my doorknob. That crosshair is coming in handy, so it's now right in line with the knob. And how long is that? 1/16 of an inch? Interesting. Well, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to group that first of all. And I will move that flush with this, and then I'll get into my door group. And I'll just trace that so don't get any clashes here. And I will push that in like so. Got a little depression there. Okay. And I'd like to get some hinges on this thing as well. Hinges are kind of like a fun touch. And the other nice thing about them is if you want to show the door being partially open, you know, kind of like this one is, hinges give you a good place to rotate about. And again, these are just some, this is just a different hinge that I've used before. You can see it's lined up, but yeah, just a different hinge that I've used before. I'm going to copy it on the principle that it should be pretty close to what's actually out there. I think it's 3 components here. I might have to modify it a little bit for the door width. If I was smart, I put it at a like a standard angle here so I can work backwards and get it to line up correctly. Yeah, 105 degrees. That's nice and lined up there. So let me take a look. This door is here. Oh yeah. Hey. Another little thing about the doorknob is that there's got to be two of them. So let's go 12 inches out there and scale that guy by -1. And then move it over to this side of the door. There, we've got that. Okay. Now let's put those hinges on. And there are, you can barely see from the video, but 2 hinges. Again, I don't have a measurement on exactly where that's coming to, but since I've got this model, I'll use the same one. Let's go from the top down. I'm gonna round that to 7 inches, I think. And we'll put the bottom one at 10 3/4 inches. So 10.75, and then this one I said was going to be 7. So let's go 7 down. And I'm not going to do any crazy grouping stuff with these hinges yet because I believe I had them grouped up with the door and the wall separately so that you could rotate the door. Yes, I do have a slightly different door size here, I think. Well, let me double check that. No, I did not. Interesting. What I've got is the gap for the door built in to my hinge. So I'm going to rotate this 105, I think that was my number. Yep, door's closed now. That gives me a little bit of a gap here. Nope, it doesn't. It's flush, so the hinge is meant to stick out a little bit. Oh yes, that's right. Silly me not thinking about how doors work. So I actually, okay, I'm just going to replicate that. Got a midpoint and an endpoint, 0.55 inches from the outer portion of the door. Is going to be where this should line up, so I'm just going to grab it like that and then move it 0.55 inches. And then similar to my latch, this is also inset into the door, just so slightly. And I've got an arc here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces. So let's do that. I'm going to have the same thing on the bottom side here. And I've goofed up because I didn't do that in my door model. So let's do that now where it belongs. Fortunately, it's not that much of a task. There's my drawing. Hopefully this worked. It did not work. Alright, what's going wrong here? Let's take my hinge, move it. I see, not everything is grouped up properly. Or I don't have all my endpoints on target. Either one would do me in. Let's move that guy 3 inches out. Let's move my door just so I can see kind of what I've created here. 3 inches that way. I think I can actually just complete this arc. Yeah. Make that tangent. There we go. Since that was lined up, I can just do that. So there we go. That took me a second there, but what I want to do now is save myself a little bit of time and grab this little sketch. I'll pull it down here to the endpoint there, and I will extrude that guy to there. So now I can just copy my other hinge right down. Move this thing back 3 inches sometimes, like I just had to do there. If you make a little mistake, the easiest thing to do is just to get stuff that's in your way out of your way so you can see what's really going on. And copy that thing down. Don't need that line, and I don't need... Oh yeah, I deleted that other line, so I don't need it anyway. Okay. And we might have a problem here. Can you see what the problem is? I've got the door facing the wrong way. Should you even be surprised at this point? This is what you get for trying to move too quickly. So I've got to scale this guy by -1. Again, fortunately this stuff's super easy to deal with. It's more about getting the dimensions. However, I do have to move this thing its exact width. So there we go. It's a little easier to do in AutoCAD because you can snap to where objects were as you're moving them. But that's an aside. Okay, so now I've got this set up to open in the correct direction as well. So let's go ahead and grab our doorknobs here. And I'll grab my hinge connected to the door and the pin and the door, and I'll group that all together. So these are separate. And there's my hinges. Okay. Well, I think the next thing to do with this beautiful door is going to be, oops, to put it about in the right spot. So looking back at my sketches here, I do have some dimensions for where it goes along this wall. Okay, yeah, so this 217 and 3/16 of an inch is where that comes to, and it's going to be from this bottom section here is where I was measuring to. Let's just punch that in. And just like that, SketchUp has interpreted my dimensions. It's amazing. I don't know, I'm kind of always impressed. And that's my edge of the trim here, I believe. And I can run a quick double check, make sure that seems reasonable. I have no calculator within easy arm's reach. So let's use the phone, or not the phone, Windows calculator. Anyway, we've got 2.25 plus 2.25 plus the width of my door, which was 35 7/8. That's 40 inches, 40.375, and I had it at 40.875, which is half an inch off, but then I also have got a little bit of a gap around the outsides. 1/8 inch, yeah, that's not too bad. I'm probably going to tighten that up just to make it look a little bit nicer, I think. I'm going to end up putting the hinge, I think, flush, and then let the gap all develop on the other side. But let's go ahead and actually do that here. So I've got my wall. And I'm just deciding how I want to approach this. Let's do that and just get on this wall face, I think. Let's go just 40 inches up for the moment. 40.875. 40 down. Because now I can cut this out. It'll be a little bit easier to see what's going on. I think I have a straight line in here that I want to get rid of too. Okay, yeah, that's gone. Okay. I'm going to extend this floor to actually, go outside the door. And next, we've got our door trim, and this is the same stuff that we used previously. And actually, I can use the colored stuff. So why not do that? I'll just copy this whole thing and rotate it. And move this corner to my inside door corner there. And I do have an offset for that in my notes. It's going to be 0.07 inches this way, 0.07, which is just about nothing. I'm going to copy this guy an inch over and grab the end of it if I can find it. Oh, I thought I had it. It's a diagonal thing. Drat. It's not going to be as easy as I thought to trim this thing off, if it's not clear that that's what I was going to try to do there. We're going to move these guys out so I've got some space to work. That line doesn't matter anymore. And I'm just going to draw a plane. but not a plane in that dimension. What are you thinking, Eric? In this dimension, because everything being in groups, I can explode these and it's not going to cause a huge problem. I'll select that and do an intersect faces with model. So now I can delete this guy. I'll do that and make sure not to delete my floor. Oh, what have I done? I'm causing serious problems here. Forgetting how I had grouped things up in the past. I think I just have this piece. Yes, I do. Okay, so it looks like I, in my infinite wisdom, had grouped all the bottom pieces together. That's a strange thing to have done. But that's okay. I'll be able to resolve it here. I want to shorten these up while I'm thinking about it. So I'll delete that. This one, I don't know the exact length yet, but it's going to be something around there. This one is going to be to there. And I need to orient faces on both of these to not have a backwards face. Oh, this one seems to have come out okay. Okay. Oh no. I have messy line work going on here. Yikes. Yikes. That's not what I want. This is why I like to clean stuff up as best I can, because these kinds of problems are not easy to fix all the time. We're gonna try. I think these are just extra. Yeah, this is a closed object. So I just have to delete that scratch face, and I'm okay. Fortunately. Although, no, it's not going to be as simple as that, is it? Let's turn off the walls, make it a little bit easier to see. That guy's deleted. Oh, yuck. Yuck. Well, okay, this one's a little bit cleaner. It's still not perfect, though. Let's group it. I'm going to move it out this way, 24, so I can see where this junk line is coming from. If I move it back 18, it should be in the right spot-ish. It's not even, because I moved it an extra inch, because I'm a goofball. Let's move that guy 18, which was far too far, 12, and then back an inch. Oh my goodness. Alright. Got that figured out, at least back to where it should be. And fortunately, I think I can use this same method over here to get this working right. So let's go 40 inches out that way. These lines I don't need, those lines I don't need. These I don't think I need either. If not, I'm gonna undo and get them back, but I don't want them around right now. Delete that, and there's another junk one there too. Group that guy, move it back 40, and then I move this 13 inches. Minus 1, 12 inches. Haha. Wow, what am I doing here? Let's Let's move that 12 and 6. I'm just going to guess and check numbers, I guess, until I've got this stuff where it belongs. And I do think I needed that chunk that I deleted. Oh, no. Alright, I gotta refill it that, or chamfer that edge because of my silly mistakes here. Let's explode this guy, grab that face. And I'm gonna move it 6 inches. Remember this number, Eric, so you don't have to guess and check. -1. That's how it should look. Actually. What? Hey, now it is chamfered. Okay, I don't know what's happening. I'm going to move it back. And I moved it 12, didn't I? Yeah, okay. Okay, that's right. I just have something else going on here that I don't need. What could it be? What is causing this? It's straight lines in this face. Okay, so it's just throwing me. Don't panic. There we go. There we go. Everything's okay. That's, I don't know, never fun when your model betrays you like this. But I've done it to myself. I've just got all kinds of straight lines floating around here. I'm just deleting stuff at this point to see, you know, what's causing those to be in there. I'm going to select them all and get rid of them. I don't want that stuff floating around because it's just, well, as you can see, it's a recipe for confusion and trouble. Let's move that thing back 12, and this is gone. I think crisis averted. Whew. Delete that stuff. I shudder to think what might be going on in this top row. And I'm probably going to have to interrupt that. Well, let's see here. Let's carry on and see what happens. So at long last, basically what I've done there is I've shortened that one edge, and I've got my door not correctly modeled here, but and I think I've messed up something else too. Let me take a look. My dimension was 217 3/16 from this edge to this edge. Yeah, so I need to move that thing over by its own width, which is 2 1/4, so it's not that bad, but I'm glad I'm catching it now before I get much further. Gotta move that 2 1/4. Okay. Are we back on track? I sure hope so. And the funny thing is, I might end up just tweaking this to look nice at the end. But for the moment, I always think it's better to try to get your dimensions spot on and then tweak them if you have to. So 40.78, and where I was maybe thrown here is that dimension is to the outside here. So I'm going to grab this, and I should be able to slide this whole thing down. Yes, something is working as planned. Whoa, but not quite. Let's just get it further than we need to. And I can bring it back to there. Okay, so that's my width. And then this is going to come to, stop it SketchUp, 2.25 plus my additional inset, which is 0.12. So that also is making the door a little bit tighter here, which is what I want. Okay, I had 82.375 to the top. So 82.75. Let's grab this top, scooch that down. Okay, got that. And this then can go ahead and come up to this elevation, and then it also comes down 0.28 inches. Okay, so if everything has gone according to plan, which so far it hasn't, this door should fit into this gap. Let's find out. It does. We have a gap at the top, which should be about 1/4 inch, and it is. And there'd be a little bit of a gap at the bottom too. So let's actually make that a true 1/4 inch and leave a little gap at the bottom. 0.25. Okay. Now it's got to move. Not quite flush with this, but man, it's going to be pretty close. It's going to be close enough I might actually just let it be. .57. Nah. Okay, so I have 1.57 minus 16.21/16. Arg. I need a real calculator, I think. No, I can just do it this way. 21/16 minus 1.57 is negative 0.2575, which is how far that should be pushed in. It's always a pain when you have to think. 0.25. Let's see how many decimals SketchUp will take here. 0.2575. That actually looks pretty decent. Do have a little bit of a gap here. So I may adjust that yet here to get that to look okay. Or I might I think I might just open the door and leave the dimensions as they are. Yeah, I think that'll be what I do. Yeah. Final decision time. I think that's what I want to do. Ooh. Well, let's see what this is. Let's get some measurements to it. 3/8 of an inch. And the reason that I'm debating over it is because I think it would be better to have the door at its actual width for the ability to kind of judge how big of something can fit through it. And 3/8 of an inch, I'm looking at a tape measure right now. That seems reasonable. I think that might be accurate. I'm going to come in here too. I've got one other detail I want to slap in. Which is this guy. I'm curious if I can see anything about that from the video here too. Probably not. If I come back, just curious if it's inset. Does look like it is, so it is flush like this. Let's copy that guy. Come back here, paste it in. Scaling it by -1 as always, just to get that thing flipped where I can get at it. Oh no. Select it. There we go. And I want to get that lined up with my latch here. Yeah. Let's get my door out of the way here. Let's move that a foot over. And where I want to put this is right at my jamb. So I'll go 1.57. So I'll put this edge flush with the jamb. Okay. No, not okay. That's not quite what I want. It doesn't look right. How does it look both here and in my other model? These little details are just tricky things you don't think about that often, at least in my opinion. Yeah, so it should be sticking out a little bit. And that being something that I don't have a dimension for is going to be something that I just kind of eyeball here. Let's move it 1/2 an inch. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to inset my wall for it. Like that. Stupendous. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And another thing that I just thought of while I was looking at the other model, the way this is going to swing in, this is actually backwards as well. So I've got to mirror this guy. All easy changes, which are the kind that I like. Okay, so that's there. Then I do have my door jamb piece. And that is going to go ahead and come in the dimensions I've got on that are 0.45, 1.38, and then I've got a little half circle here, so that's going to be 1.38 minus 0.45, 0.93 to here, and then I've got an arc like that. Okay, sweet. That's my 1.57. I'll move that thing over. Bam. And I'll drag this thing up most of the way, but not all the way. This comes in 12 inches, and it doesn't quite line up. I would like to widen the door just a bit so that that lines up a little better. Let's go 20 inches. I'll grab that. I'm going to move it I was 3/8 of an inch. Let's just move it. Let's move it a 1/4 inch. Widen that thing 1/4 inch, just so it looks nice. 20 inches back. Let's see what that did. My hinges are still lined up correctly. And it looks a lot better. You know, getting into this tight of a tolerance, it's never going to be perfect, but it just would be, visually, it'd be nice for it to look correct with the door closed. When the door's open, you can't tell that that little bit of distance is different. Okay, so we've got that. Last couple details here are that I need this flipped over to the other side. So let's go 16. Scale it up by how much? -1. Okay. So the interesting thing is I've set my door width, you know, this width based on whatchamacallit. I set that based on the width of my trim on the inside. On the outside here, I'm going to adjust the trim width because I do have separate measurements for what that should look like. So left inside was 0.07, left outside is 0.30, which is 0.07, this distance here, plus 0.23. So I'll move that 0.23. Right inside was 0.12, right outside is 0.06. So that's 0.06 closer. And top inside was 0.28, top outside is 0.03, so 0.25 down. That's where that should be. Okay, so that is what things are looking like there. Since I've kind of gone all in on this door model, I do want to get a couple other little quick details going here. Just looking for ease of texturing, and also we should have that along all sides, this little strip that I've created. So I'm going to copy that. 12. -1 scale. Oops, I meant to copy that there. Let's copy that 12 just to get it to where I can see it. Rotate it 90 and move it back 12. Now what I want to have this do is extend to there. Into there. And then be all moved. Well, we don't need to do it in edit mode. Let's do it in group mode. Move it up to there to be flush with our top. Move this over to the side. Oh, come on. Gotcha. Move that up to the top. And move that up to the top. And now, because I like to just clean these up, even though it is a little bit of a hassle, but you can see how easy it made it for me to adjust the trim there. I am going to explode these. Yikes. And I will clean them up a little bit here. So that I can adjust it parametrically if I need to at some point. And I've just deleted a face that I want to keep. Whoa, something's missing here. Let's undo this. And let's do an intersect faces with model. That's what I was missing. It's causing me some trouble. There we go. Delete that. Delete that and that and that. And well, should we delete this? I think we should. And that and that and that and that and that. I'm just deleting my top faces here because it becomes a little bit easier, at least in my opinion, to see what's going on, and they're super easy to recreate. In fact, let's bring that one back. Everything looks all right there. Delete that guy. That's gone. That's gone. That's gone. Oh, I deleted something that I needed. That'll happen. That'll happen. That's gone. That's gone. That's gone. Bam. Okay. Haha. Move this guy. -32. Put it back where it was. Such an arbitrary dimension I chose there. That should have kind of this same cherry wood. I'm going to do the same for the door. I think I'll use the brass on the knob and the hinge. Some of these textures I may update a little bit later too. But for the moment, they're just something to kind of have a little bit of nice color splash going on. Yeah, it looks all right. Okay, so I've got that kind of taken care of here. I'm going to move this guy 52 inches that way. And I'm going to actually come back here and undo some of this tedious work that I've done. I'm going to pull that back and delete these lines, because what I'd like to do is just create like separate little boards for this, like I did on the closet door. Take that an inch in every direction. I say boards, I mean they're not really necessarily the dimensions of how this was built, but you know, the pieces of wood this was built with, but they do simulate it a little bit better, and it makes it easier for me to texture things down the road when I want to texture the walls. I don't have to worry about straight lines and stuff like that, because as you can tell, not the biggest fan of straight lines. Let's go 1 3/4, 1 4 3/4. And before I get too carried away with this thing, I'm gonna add in an I'm gonna add in some detail for my hinge, of course. There we go. Stop that clash from being a problem. Let's grab, oops, copy. Wasn't hitting control there. Ooh, my bad. Copy it up like that. And we'll do one of those. Okay, so now that's nice and complicated. And I did not group that, so let's group it. And then color it, so I can do that in one fell swoop. Take this 4.75, 4.75, bam. And then I will redo this depression. I went a little bit farther. I was going to try something sneaky. It did not work out for me. Yeah, I'll redo that. And then this guy, I'm going to color all like this, but then I don't want named colors. Well, okay, it doesn't matter named or not, but I'm going unnamed because I'm a rogue. I'm going to grab a darker black there and I'll put it in just to make it look like there's kind of a hole going on. Okay, so I'm going to grab all these pieces that are making up my door frame, and I'm going to group these too. Just kind of move them around to make sure I didn't leave anything behind. I didn't. Move this guy back 52 inches. And there, at long last, is the door. There are a couple little other details to fix up here. Let's see how that goes for me. This piece, I'm going to learn from my previous mistake, and I'm going to just copy it way up above everything else. I'll create my plane. I'll explode these guys. Intersect some faces with some models. Probably one of the handiest commands in this thing, honestly. Delete everything in there that got created that I didn't mean to make. And I'll group these. This comes down, well, I can set it to the correct length here. Ah, yes, I need to create this face. And I'll have to do the same thing here. Face is created. Just when you think you're done, there's always one more little detail like this to deal with. Let's move that guy 40 down. And 20 down. And there at long last is the other door. So yeah, took a little bit more effort than I was expecting, but I think that came out pretty nicely. See you next time on, I don't even know what I'm going to do, but I'll think of something to further flesh this out. Adios.